Good morning, everybody. We're going to be teaching you how to deal with forms in VBA. And what we're just doing is we're just discussing the different forms and how to work them. So we're going to develop a tab and go into Visual Basic. We're going to insert and user form and just expand our user form out. Of course, immediately pops up this toolbox here. If you can't find the toolbox, just go to View, just go to your different tools and have a look in here, find your actual toolbox. There's the toolbox under View. Of course, if you can't find your toolbox, just go to View, go down to Toolbox, and you can toggle that on and off. So there it is, and you can expand it out. Now, if you hover over each one of these things, you'll see what the names of the different forms are. It is possible to go and grab some forms or some tools from the internet and import them into here. It's often not the best thing to do because often people don't actually have those forms available to them, but so using the standard set of forms is a much better way to go for other users. So we've got labels, which are basically text, so we can put in some text here. And you notice how I double clicked it. I could actually program the label or program anything to say what I would like. So in this case, I'm putting hello world in there. And so if I run it here on the label, if I click on there, it says hello world. Labels you generally wouldn't use like that, but you can use like that. So a label basically you would use for saying something, for telling the person or telling the user what's going on. So for example, at the moment, this particular label is called label, but the caption for the label is label 1. I can change that. Hi, here is a dialog box. And when I let go, there it is. I run it. Hi, here's a dialog box. Click on there. And because I'm actually clicking close to it, because this was where the dialog box or the little label was there. So if I click on there, it should be able to actually play that particular message. Let's have a look at our command buttons. And so what we're looking for is a command button. See over here? And a command button is basically a button that you can program, and when you run it, you can actually press it and then do the same kinds of things. So if I was to go in here and grab that piece of code and put it in there and run it, it of course produces that message box coming up again. So here's the same message box because it's identical programming. Okay, so just a thought about copying and pasting. We can copy and paste multiple items at once and get them all aligned however we like. Now, if I just grab these and put them down here somewhere, if I select all of them, I can actually format a line to the left. They all line up. Format, vertical spacing make equal, and now that you've got a perfectly equal thing there. If I run that, this one produces the hello world, but this one and this one, these all don't. But this one was that first one that I programmed, so you can program each one of these independently. Let's go back to there. Okay, let's talk about radio buttons. Radio buttons are these things here, option buttons, and if I just draw some in here, copy, if I run that, I can actually press that. It's an option, that option, that option, or that option. That is because they're all bound within this root form. Okay. To make each one of these independent, we can actually run a frame around it. So if I go frame, and I'm just going to copy these and place those in the frame, and I'm just going to align them because it's driving me a bit insane how poorly formatted they are. If I then run that, right, see as I click on these option buttons, these are bound by this big frame, but these are not bound by that frame. And so I can click on those independently to those. So that's an important feature to notice. Let's have a look over here. We've got list boxes, and I really love using list boxes. So here's a list box, and when you click on the list box, we can actually make this particular thing actually have some information in it. So if I go over to my Excel spreadsheet and I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm just going to make this, give this a name. I'm going to say my num. We're calling it my num for my numbers. Oh, I haven't done it yet. Let's try that again. My num, press enter. And so I know that it's there because I can click elsewhere and then click on my num. If I go back over here and I look for the row source down here, I can write equals my num, press enter, see there, and immediately it places up here. And I can actually adjust the size of that kind of thing, so you can see the font is very small. The way to adjust that is actually to go up to font over here, click on there, and now we can adjust the size and the shape of the font, etc. I'm going to go up to there, press OK, and this changes immediately. And then of course I can just adjust that a little bit more. Let's just adjust it so it's a bit better. And then if I run that, we can click on any of those. So that's a list box, and I could put text in here. I don't have to put numbers. I can put anything I like in here. And when I click on that, at the moment, currently, the value of this list box is equal to 3. So I can use that in formulas to do all sorts of things. So there's list boxes. Let's have a look at a few other options. We've got multi-page. I do like multi-page. If I draw it in here, basically I can right-click, create a new page, right-click, create a new page, and each one of these is a different page on here. And so I can put things on here. So let's go back to our toolbox. And what we're going to do is we're going to put a text box here. We're going to put here a couple of radio buttons. Here we're going to put a frame, and here we're not going to put anything. So if I run it, of course, I can change that, and I can do the same things that I need to as I can over here, and you'll see that they're quite independent of this whole frame here. And we can program those in appropriate ways. One last thing I'd like to show you is pictures. So let's go to this last one here and let's go to pictures. Just delete that. Let's go to pictures. And I can draw a picture in here. Now, obviously it's not a picture there, but down in my properties, I can look for a picture here by clicking on here, clicking on these 3 dots, and go look for my picture. And obviously that's spread way too far. So what I want to do is deal with maybe size and stretch it across the picture. And we'll just make it a little bit better there. And now we've got a picture that works quite well. It's stretched, but you can stretch it and organize that according to what you've got to do. So there's some basic form properties. And there are other things there, and you can have a look at those things there, but they're the main things that you're going to be using for these projects that we're dealing with. I hope this was helpful. Thank you. Goodbye.